Hello, everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. So we have made it to the end of another week. Admittedly, an abbreviated week because we did have Memorial Day weekend, and I hope everybody did enjoy their Memorial Day weekend. I hope everybody got to have a Memorial Day weekend. But even though this was a short week and kind of a quiet week, there were some things that did happen that I wanted to talk about. And I want to start with, two very stupid tweets. And I want to talk about one before the other, and I want to talk about these because I feel like even though this is, one of them is kind of a tempest in a teapot and the other one is now having some serious ramifications. But I think this is something that we are going to have to start being a little more aware of going forward, especially going into the 2020 election season. So I want to start with a tweet that I saw last Sunday, and it was from Ian Bremmer. And this is the verbiage of the tweet, word for word. This is what he tweeted out. President Trump in Tokyo. Kim Jong-un is smarter and would make a better president than sleepy Joe Biden. Now, I saw the tweet in my timeline and I did not retweet it. I did not comment on it because my first thought was, I'm going to need to see this from more than one source before I run with the fact that that Trump said that Kim Jong-un would be a better president than sleepy Joe Biden. Because that's not the kind of thing that you should just run with because you saw one person say it on Twitter. But apparently I have better critical thinking skills and actually the ability to learn things from past controversies, Covington, that when you see something like that, especially if it's something that confirms your particular confirmation biases about a person or group of people, you should probably take a second and make sure that what you are amplifying is actually a correct, true thing that actually fucking happened. Because this did not. President Trump did not say that at all. And eventually, somebody called Ian out on the tweet. They replied that there's no way that this could have happened. And his response was, it's plausible. So basically, you just made up some shit. And this is not like some nobody, no-name dude. Like, this is a blue-check journalist. Just dead-ass made up a comment about this. And it's like, first of all, you don't have to make up anything stupid that could possibly come out of Trump's mouth because there's enough stupid stuff that comes out of the man's mouth on a regular basis. It's an embarrassment of riches. We don't have to make shit up. Trust me, if you think he hasn't said anything stupid lately, just give it an hour and you will have something to talk about that he actually said. But of course, this ended up going wide because people did run it uncritically because nobody learned shit ever from anything. And so, of course, by the time it got around that it was a fake quote, the damage was already done. It's like every time you see one of these tweets where somebody, gets something factually wrong or wrong in some way, and the original tweet gets, hundreds of thousands of retweets and likes, and then they put out, a correction tweet saying, oh, my bad, I was wrong, and that tweet gets a tiny, tiny fraction of the engagement that the original false tweet got. So, of course, this is kind of a very inside political Twitter journalo controversy, which, you're making up fake quotes about the president. First of all, like I said, you don't have to do that. Second of all, it's here we go again. It's retweeting things and amplifying them and not stopping to think that, hey, this sounds kind of off. Maybe I should look into it a little bit before hauling off and co-signing it. But no, nobody learns anything. So this one, like I said, kind of a tempest in a teapot. But it is, I think, indicative of something that we are going to be seeing more of going forward. To which, let's go ahead and talk about the stupid, dumb, doctored Nancy Pelosi video. Now, this is the other tweet that is a very dumb tweet, because it's a Trump tweet. So, off the rip, it's a dumb tweet. But what I want to point out is something that I've not seen a lot of other people point out. And that is, this whole thing blew up because Trump tweeted out a clip that contained this doctored video that was made to make Nancy Pelosi look like she was drunk or high or somehow mentally not up to snuff. But the clip that Trump tweeted out was not just the doctored video, like in its wild organic state. What he tweeted out was a clip from Lou Dobbs Tonight, where they were discussing the doctored video as if it were real, as if it were straight news. And that, to me, should be the story, not what it is turned into, but the fact that the whole reason Trump even knew that this video existed is because Fox News was sitting there discussing this obviously doctored video as if it were 1000% real, straight video, and there's the problem. Because again, once again, you see something online, you don't stop to think, you don't stop to verify to make sure that the thing that you are promoting is actually 100% legit, and you just run with it because it's Nancy Pelosi looking drunk, and oh my god, I hate Nancy Pelosi, so screw figuring out if this is even a real video or not. Let's just go ahead and put it up on one of our marquee shows, and then the president sees it, and he tweets out this clip to, I don't even know how many followers he has now. The last time I checked, he was over 50 million followers. So that is where this all started. So, of course, Trump tweets this out. The left flips out, starts demanding that Facebook, which is apparently where the doctored video came from in the first place, allegedly, maybe, nobody really knows. We'll get to that in a second. But they flip out on Facebook, expecting Facebook to remove this video from the site. Facebook is like, no, we're not going to do that because that's stupid. Like, you should be able to tell that this is a doctored video. Like, it's not our job to be policing this shit. So, of course, everybody freaks out. It turns into this big, huge, stupid ordeal, which those of us who spend a lot of time online, like I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, but I do spend more time on Twitter. I mean, but if you've been online for any period of time, you know that all these videos exist, that there's parody videos, there's doctored videos, like there's memes, there's all this kind of shit out there, and everybody knows it's a joke. Like, why is anybody even taking any of this seriously? But, of course, dumbass Fox News had to go start this whole thing, and then Trump had to go amplify it to the whole nation. So now we've got this massive situation that had kind of died down a little bit. Like, people were screaming at Facebook. Facebook was like, basically, go fuck yourself. Everything kind of died down for a while. Until last night / this morning, when the Daily Beast decided to take it upon themselves to go investigate the source of the doctored video because they thought it might be Russians. Which, first of all, contemplate the fucking stupidity of that. You spent time and resources trying to figure out who made a parody video. What the fuck? I'm sorry, was there no news to report on this week? Like, no real news? Because there was. There really was real news to be reported on this week. But you spent time doing this because you thought it was going to be the Russians. But you know what? It wasn't the Russians. Allegedly, and I say allegedly, it was a guy who lives out in the Bronx, is black, for what it's worth, is a day worker, for what it's worth. They went and doxed this dude. They put his name in an article. They put all of this information that I know about him in this article. That he's, his name, his occupation, pretty much where he lives, his criminal history, comments he made on fucking Instagram. they put all this dude's business out here in this article, and what's made it even worse is this guy has responded and said that he's not even the one that made the video in the first place. Like, he got it from somewhere else and shared it. So, you just doxed a dude, which, no. Even Gab, even the autistic motherfuckers over at Gab can figure out that doxing is an offense that is punishable by basically shooting somebody into the sun. They can figure this out. Daily Beast just put this dude's business all over the internet for nothing because, according to him, he didn't even make the fucking video. We still don't know who made the video. And it doesn't really matter who made the video because who gives a shit? It's a funny video. Who cares? Like, what? And it's just like, it turned into this whole thing. And it's like, I was floored when I saw that Daily Beast article. So I was just like, who looked at that and said, yeah, run it. That's a good idea. Let's put somebody's business out here. Let's put a private citizen's business out here, and enough of it to where, like, you could find dude. Like, they put his first and last name. They put pretty much where he lives. They put anything that you could possibly need to actually be able to maybe find out, like, his address or his phone number or find out where he works. I'm just like, I thought we were all on board with this. I thought we all had figured out that doxing is vile and disgusting and pretty much the worst thing you can do to somebody because you're taking something that's online and moving it offline. And that's a no-no. I thought we all agreed that's a no-no. But here's Daily Beast doing this bullshit, and of course Twitter came down on them like a ton of bricks, as we should, because that's a fucked up thing to do. But the second lesson to be learned from this whole Twitter stories, nonsensical things, is that apparently there are outlets who think it's okay to put somebody's personal business out there in the streets and go on television and defend it. Like, the editor-in-chief of Daily Beast went on the news this morning to defend this story. So, first of all, fuck you, dude. Like, no. But apparently there are people that think this is okay. And it's like his grave offense was sharing a video of Nancy Pelosi that you didn't like. And you felt the need to, like, go ruin somebody's life over that. But this is where we are. This is how toxic this environment is going to become. And it's something that's going to get worse, not better, the closer we get to November of 2020. So, while both of these stories look like kind of stupid, throwaway, nothing stories, I think they are indicative of what is to come over the next, well, about yearish at this point, a little over a year, because it's freaking June already, and I can't believe that. But moving on to the next story, which is that Robert Mueller spoke. He has spoken. He gave a press conference, and first off, now we all know what his voice sounds like, which did not sound the way I expected it to. But the reason why this is something that is noteworthy is because Mueller has not given a statement up until this point publicly, either during the investigation or afterwards. So he held a press conference-ish. I say ish because he made it very clear that I am making this statement, I am not taking questions afterwards, and once I'm done with this statement, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And the statement is short enough so that I am going to read it for you guys, just in case you missed it, just so you could know exactly what it was that he said when he held his press conference that wasn't really a press conference because there was no conference, it was just him talking and then leaving. So here we go. This is the statement that he gave in person on Wednesday. 2 years ago, the acting attorney general asked me to serve as special counsel, and he created the special counsel's office. The appointment order directed the office to investigate Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. This included investigating any links or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the Trump campaign. Now, I have not spoken publicly during our investigation. I am speaking out today because our investigation is complete. The Attorney General has made the report on our investigation largely public. We are formally closing the special counsel's office, and as well, I am resigning from the Department of Justice to return to private life. I'll make a few remarks about the results of our work, but beyond these few remarks, it is important that the office's written work speaks for itself. Let me begin where the appointment order begins, and that is interference in the 2016 presidential election. As alleged by the grand jury in an indictment, Russian intelligence officers who are part of the Russian military launched a concerted attack on our political system. The indictment alleges that they used sophisticated cyber techniques to hack into computers and networks used by the Clinton campaign. They stole private information and then released that information through fake online identities and through the organization WikiLeaks. The release was designed in time to interfere with our election and to damage a presidential candidate. And at the same time, as the grand jury alleged in a separate indictment, a private Russian entity engaged in a social media operation where Russian citizens posed as Americans in order to influence an election. These indictments contain allegations, and we are not commenting on the guilt or innocence of any specific defendant. Each defendant is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. The indictments allege, and the other activities in our report describe, efforts to interfere in our political system. They needed to be investigated and understood, and that is among the reasons why the Department of Justice established our office. That is also a reason we investigated efforts to obstruct the investigation. The matters we investigated were of paramount importance. It was critical for us to obtain full and accurate information from every person we questioned. When a subject of an investigation obstructs that investigation or lies to investigators, it strikes at the core of the government's efforts to find the truth and hold wrongdoers accountable. Let me say a word about the report. The report has two parts addressing the two main issues we were asked to investigate. The first volume of the report details numerous efforts emanating from Russia to influence the election. This volume includes a discussion of the Trump campaign's response to this activity, as well as our conclusion that there was insufficient evidence to charge a broader conspiracy. And in the second volume, the report describes the results and analysis of our obstruction of justice investigation involving the president. The order appointing me special counsel authorized us to investigate actions that could obstruct the investigation. We conducted that investigation, and we kept the Office of the Acting Attorney General apprised of the progress of our work. And as set forth in the report, after that investigation, if we had had confidence that the president clearly did not commit a crime, we would have said so. We did not, however, make a determination as to whether the president did commit a crime. The introduction to the Volume 2 of our report explains that decision. It explains that under long-standing department policy, a president cannot be charged with a federal crime while he is in office. That is unconstitutional. Even if the charge is kept under seal and hidden from public view, that too is prohibited. A special counsel's office is part of the Department of Justice, and by regulation, it was bound by department policy. Charging the president with a crime was therefore not an option we could consider. The department's written opinion explaining that policy makes several important points that further informed our handling of the obstruction investigation. Those points are summarized in our report, and I will describe two of them for you. First, the opinion explicitly permits the investigation of a sitting president because it is important to preserve evidence while memories are fresh and documents available. Among other things, that evidence could be used if there were co-conspirators who could be charged now. And second, the opinion says that the Constitution requires a process other than the criminal justice system to formally accuse a sitting president of wrongdoing. And beyond department policy, we were guided by principles of fairness. It would be unfair to potentially accuse somebody of a crime when there can be no court resolution of the actual charge. So that was Justice Department policy. Those were the principles under which we operated. And from them, we concluded that we would not reach a determination, one way or the other, about whether the president committed a crime. That is the office's final position, and we will not comment on any other conclusions or hypotheticals about the president. We conducted an independent criminal investigation and reported the results to the Attorney General as required by department regulations. The Attorney General then concluded that it was appropriate to provide our report to Congress and to the American people. At one point in time, I requested that certain portions of the report be released, and the Attorney General preferred to make the entire report public all at once, and we appreciate that the Attorney General made the report largely public. And I certainly do not question the Attorney General's good faith in that decision. Now, I hope and expect that this will be the only time I will speak to you in this manner. I am making that decision myself. No one has told me whether I can or should testify or speak further about the matter. There has been discussion about an appearance before Congress. Any testimony from this office would not go beyond our report. It contains our findings and analysis and the reasons for the decisions we made. We chose these words carefully, and the work speaks for itself. And the report is my testimony. I would not provide information beyond that which is already public in any appearance before Congress. In addition, access to our underlying work product is being decided in a process that does not involve our office. So beyond what I've already said here today and what is contained in the written work, I do not believe it is appropriate for me to speak further about the investigation or to comment on the actions of the Justice Department or Congress. And that it is for that reason that I will not be taking questions today as well. Now, before I step away, I want to thank the attorneys, the FBI agents, the analysts, the professional staff who helped us conduct this investigation in a fair and independent manner. These individuals who spent nearly 2 years with the Special Counsel's Office were of the highest integrity. And I will close by reiterating the central allegation of our indictments, in that there were multiple systematic efforts to interfere in our election. And that allegation deserves the attention of every American. Thank you. Thank you for being here today. So basically, the TLDR version of that is read the source material, because I'm not saying anything beyond what is in the report, and thank you, good day. But there are some interesting things in here. First and foremost, the confirmation of what obviously we've already known, which is that the investigation is over. The Special Counsel's office is officially closed. Mueller has officially resigned as Special Counsel and from the DOJ, and is going to go back to being a private citizen, which, as far as congressional subpoenas are concerned, I'm wondering how that would play out, because as a private citizen, you can't really dodge a subpoena in the same way he could if he was still special counsel. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. And as far as a congressional subpoena, he makes it very clear here that even if he does get subpoenaed and he does go, he's not discussing anything beyond what is already in the report. So it's basically his way of saying, don't bother, because I'm not explaining myself to you, basically. Like, the report is the report, the work speaks for itself, and that's it. So whether Congress will actually subpoena him or not, who knows at this point? A lot of people have made a lot of hay about this kind of being confirmation that Mueller was always investigating this with an eye towards starting impeachment proceedings, because as he point blank says, he did not make an allegation or an indictment on obstruction of justice because he felt that per DOJ precedent, he could not do that. Like, that would be unconstitutional for him to do so. And that's why he kicked it over to Barr, which there is some question as to whether it is or is not constitutional, and the fact that it's basically just a DOJ memo that says that. It's not any kind of hard and fast rule. But however you happen to feel about that, that was why, per Mueller, why he chose to not make that allegation and kicked it to Barr. And Barr has obviously said that he does not feel like there is enough to do an obstruction of justice charge. So that's that. And Mueller reiterates once again that, well, yes, in their opinion, and I think at this point it's pretty much established fact, that yes, Russia did try to interfere in our election. No, they could not find any ties between the Trump campaign and the Russians who were doing the interfering. And so that kind of is the end of that. And yeah, pretty much, like, that's pretty much it. Just basically him saying that, okay, read the report. I'm not planning on talking about this any further. I'm not taking questions. I'm not discussing the backstory to this. And yeah, that's about it. And thank you. Good night. But obviously this is still something that's rather up in the air, because now that statement kind of kicked the ball over to Nancy Pelosi, and whether they're going to actually do impeachment proceedings. I still say they're not, because this was Wednesday, it's now Sunday, and that's not like a super long time, but it is still crickets from Pelosi's office, and she keeps saying these kind of like little mealy mouth things like, well, we want to make sure we get it right, and blah, 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 and I don't see it happening. And like I said before, the closer we get to November of 2020, the further away you get from impeachment. So whether this is the end, I don't know. I think it is. I don't know if anyone's going to go down the impeachment road, and so that's going to end up being probably one of the most controversial things ever to have happened ever in this country, ever. But, so, there we go. Mueller speaks. Mueller has spoken. Mueller has said he does not plan on speaking anymore, and yeah, he's going to go live life as a private citizen now. So, moving on from that to the third story from this week, and that is new tariffs. Special tariffs. Mexican tariffs. Now, it had been rumored over the past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks at this point, that at some point in this past week, we would be getting some kind of immigration reform sort of package, legislation, something to that effect. We did not get that. What we got was the announcement that we will be levying tariffs on Mexico to try to stop the border crisis, which, first of all, tariffs. Tariffs! But, second of all, this is using an economic tool to fix a non-economic problem, which is... what? But the worst thing about this whole situation is the actual time frame and the plan as stated right now for how these tariffs would be rolled out. So, stay with me here, fam. Today is June 2nd. This was announced the end of last week. So, if you want to backdate it to, we'll say May 31st, just to be fair. So, starting on June 10th, there will be a 5% tariff levied on everything coming in from Mexico. There are no exceptions at this point. So, June 10th, 5%. Ratcheted up to 10% on July 1st. Ratcheted up to 15% on August 1st. Ratcheted up to 20% on September 1st, and capping out at 25% on October 1st. So, again, let's go back to our dates here. You want Mexico to fix a problem that, first of all, is not really a them problem, and I'm not going to go too far into a lot of thought on this because, future content alert, the next episode that you will be hearing is me sitting down and talking to an immigration lawyer where we do kind of go over a lot of this stuff in a little more in depth. So in order not to repeat myself and so that you don't hear the same thing twice, I'm going to kind of keep it a little brief on this and then let you guys listen to that. But you want Mexico to solve this problem in the span of 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And if you don't, you keep ratcheting it up on a monthly basis. Like, okay, the flow of people, the flow of drugs, the flow of whatever the fuck boogeyman you want to worry about this week is something that has been going on in Mexico for decades. Like, decades on decades on decades, we've been having this discussion. You think this is going to get fixed in 2 weeks, dude? Do you really? Like, this is so mind-meltingly dumb to the point where it's like, I almost can't take this seriously, but I have to because this is about to be the reality that we live under. And these tariffs, as opposed to the Chinese tariffs, this is going to hurt. Like, you can kind of avoid the Chinese tariffs because it's on things that either are raw materials and you don't really buy raw materials unless you are in the manufacturing industry, or it's on things that you don't buy on like a super regular basis. Things coming out of Mexico are things that you are going to buy on a semi-regular basis, like food, like car parts, like everything that is fucking manufactured in Mexico. Go around your house and see how many things are manufactured in Mexico and realize you're going to pay more next time you have to buy them. Because even our president today fucked up on Twitter and admitted that tariffs are taxes. And as we all know, businesses don't absorb taxes, they pass them on to the consumer. And just like every other tariff, Mexico's not going to pay the tariff. Companies aren't going to pay the tariffs. You're going to pay the tariffs. So it's going to be real fun when all of a sudden the price of produce shoots through the fucking roof because you want to do this dumbass tariff plan. Or just everything that comes out of Mexico. Even MAGA hats that are made in Mexico, I would assume, would be subject to these tariffs. So it's just like, it's the dumbest idea to try to fix a problem that cannot be addressed in this particular fashion. And I know I've gone on about this before, and immigration is kind of one of my personal little things, but I really wish that at some point in the future, somebody would be serious about doing some kind of immigration reform in this country and streamlining the immigration process so that we don't have to keep going through this shit over and over and over again. But apparently nobody takes us seriously enough to actually do anything in Congress. So, yeah, so we get stuff like DACA that gets pushed through by EO and then gets overturned by the next president. We have bullshit like this. We have the wall. Like, nobody wants to address the root problems of what is going on here. And it gets frustrating. It gets really fucking frustrating because this is actually affecting people. Like, they're real people. They're not like some weird other thing. They're people, and now with these tariffs, it's going to affect all of us. Like, it's going to affect every single person in this country, and it is going to disproportionately affect those who are lower income, because the same way you raise prices on anything, it disproportionately affects the lower income people, which I wonder how Trump's base is going to respond to that. Not saying that his base is all poor people, but if you are a rural person and you do not have super tons of options of where to get things, and all of a sudden prices start going up, like, what are you going to do? Like, you're kind of screwed. Like, you're really, like, fucking over your own base here to try to make some point about brown people. So, yeah, I'm sure this is a topic that we will be coming back to later once these get implemented, because obviously this is not a problem that's going to be solved by June 10th. So yeah, I'm sure we will be discussing it again, and I don't see any way that this doesn't happen. Like, I don't know of any, like, legal methods that would stop it. Congress could. Congress won't, because Congress is about fucking useless. So, yeah, I'm sure we will be picking up on that again later. So, on this note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. As always, if you did make it this far, thank you. And if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.